Pots, Pans, and Pioneers. I guess I did an update about 6 months ago, and I wanted to, I've gotten so many emails asking where am I, if I'm coming back to YouTube. So I really wanted to drop in and let you guys kind of give an update on what's going on and what I'm going to do moving forward. As you know, during the pandemic, I lost 2 of my closest family members to that dreaded disease, and my mother and my sister passed away within 30 days of each other. Compounded with the move back from Arkansas to Texas. And honestly, I just really wanted to come back to Texas, and I wanted to spend time with my children. Living in rural Arkansas can be extremely a lonely place to be unless that's something that you're very used to. Try to stop saying so much. I was always used to spending a lot of time with my children. Every weekend they were at my house, and meals and the download of their life and all of that. And then when Bill and I decided to move to Arkansas into a homestead, obviously their life was here and we moved our life there. And it was doable. And being a city girl, I never ever thought that I would be faced with so many obstacles and so many life changes and so much challenges that I had in my life. Not only physical challenges, but mostly emotional ones. And of course, you know, Bill and I were spent a lot of time together in Arkansas for 4 years. Almost, we were working on 5. And it was something that I'll always have a fond memory of. There was so many things about Arkansas I really loved, and some things that I have to say I won't ever miss. And maybe I'll update you on that in a different video. So over the last 6 months, we've had 2 funerals. We had to pack up my mother's estate on her property, and it's still not all done. She's got probably a 40 by 60 barn full from top of the ceiling to the bottom of the floor. It's still full, and the barn is not in good shape. So at some point, Bill and I are going to have to go there and deal with that. There's a lot of at one time in my life, my mother was an antique dealer. Her and my dad went to auctions, and they bought a lot of things, and they invested their money into antiques. So I really just don't want to set fire to it or throw it up and say good riddance to the next owner. I want to really go through the things to make sure that there isn't anything that would have been something that had any significant value. And along the way of packing her things and going through her things, I can tell you that 80% of it was tossable. But it was the rest of it that was really something I needed to take a harder look at. So with that, we moved back to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we did a 6-month stay with Bill's parents, which was appreciable. We really appreciated staying there. It's not anything I wanted to do long term, and Bill and I decided to move out and over the Thanksgiving holiday, and I opted to go into a Airbnb because we had not both established jobs back here in Dallas, and no one would rent us a home or an apartment or anything. So since we had sold our property in Arkansas, we had a little bit of money stashed, and so I opted to use some of that money to sustain us while we went through the emotional and physical stuff of what had just happened to us. Our initial plan was to move back to Dallas, grab jobs, and began looking for our next piece of land in Texas. And we would establish a new mini little homestead there. We've not given up on that, but we're gonna have a layover, and we've decided that we're gonna lease, or we've signed a lease for a couple of years. And we got a lease because both of us were able to establish jobs. And we're doing pretty well now. I've been at my job for a little over 90 days. And Bill's been, he works with the same company I do, and he's been there a little bit less time than me. And Bill's already been promoted. And so things are looking upwards for us. We're still going to be moving in the direction of going back and having property and maybe a little hobby farm. You know, one of the things I loved about Arkansas was being able to have animals. And I personally am an animal lover, so I want animals to be a part of my life. And what a bonus was they were able to give us food. For what food we put in them, they were able to produce food for us, and I just love that idea and the way that worked. I got super attached to the chickens and the ducks that I had, and I'm a big chicken collector, and I have them all over my home, and I think because they just remind me of the ones that I had in Arkansas, and so they bring me a lot of great joy. So we've got jobs now, and we're leasing a home, and we now have been faced with the daunting of 6 storage units. And people say, don't put your stuff in storage units. I was a big person to say, after 3 months, your storage unit cost more than probably what you're storing. So, but in my situation, I had nowhere to put it but on the street, so I had to keep it in there. So we're offloading. The little home that we're renting here is only about 1,600 square feet, and it's quite small. It's even smaller than the cabin, and so we're having to cram things into it that probably are overflow. And again, you know, I have to go through things and decide on what's super important and what's not important. Garage sales are not my thing, because I'm the type of person that I am. I would rather give it to you than charge you for it. And so they never work out for me. On a side note to that, along the way of moving back to Dallas, Bill and I decided to rent a couple of antique booths because my mother was such a collector. And I thought that'd be a great idea because we could rent the booths and sell her items. And I didn't really realize that it requires so much involved and so much work involved. So even when I didn't have a job, I had a job because I was constantly washing, cleaning, looking up pricing, price tagging, inventorying, and then put it in the booth. And I know there's a lot of YouTube channels on antiquing and booth making and all of those stuff, and I did a lot of that and still do. We are about to close down one of the booths because it's over $600 a month, and they're going up on the rent. And the rest of the items that I have in there are not the items would not be valued at even that. So we're going to go ahead and close that one down. We're going to keep one of them open, and I'm going to have one of them open for at least another 6 months so that I can filter through what is left and get my life pared down to where it's not so stressful. Believe it or not, having a lot of things really stresses you out, and it really brings a lot of, or at least me, a lot of stress in your life. The more clean and organized things are, the more I feel like I have my life together, and the more clutter and the more mess I have, the more I feel like I have mess up here. So we're going to be doing that. We each are going to maintain our channels. I'm going to maintain this channel with my recipes are going to continue on, and maybe some decorating, I'm not sure. And then I'm going to continue to grow my small business that I always have had on the side. I've over 20 years of that, and I put up a YouTube channel where I'm remaking some of the things that I found in my mother's stuff that either got chipped or broken, and I'm putting them back together and giving them new life, to flipping some items and even doing some sewing projects and that type of thing. It's really a crafting DIY channel that I'm doing over at Cedar Hill Country Market. I'll leave a link to the channel below. And this channel is really my heart, because it's the one I started with on the recommendation of my son to document my life and my recipes so that my children's children could have access to them in a digital way, since paper tends to get torn and messed up and thrown away. And this would offer that permanent way for them to have just a little part of me after I'm gone. The last or second to the last item I'll talk about here today is attorneys. My mother's estate is not in probate, but it's in a very, I don't have the way to put my name on her property in order to sell it because of the Louisiana laws and the way that they're all, what I say, jacked up. They have a French law in Louisiana, and it's no fun to deal with, especially if somebody dies without a will. It's absolutely horrific. It's hard on the family, and nothing you can do about it. You have to go through the process. The lawyers there that I've dealt with, and I've dealt with many, they're slow, they're lazy, they don't call you back. The ones I've dealt with, at least. I've had to fire a few, and it's not been any fun. Not anything you can do without a lawyer there. You have to go and present your stuff to the judge, and if you don't do it in the right way, in the right manner, they throw it out of court. With my mother not having another daughter that's alive, you would tend to believe, well, everything she had would come to me, and sadly that's not true. In Louisiana, my sister had a son and he had a son, and while they don't want anything of my mother's, it's very hard to get that to be understood by the courts there. So in August and September, I'll be coming up on a year of their passing, and their passing, both of them, has really ripped my life in half, and not necessarily because of the relationships, because those weren't intact, and maybe that's for another video as well, but mainly because of all the work involved when you don't leave a will and you don't leave your earthly things in order for somebody to be able to step in and take over. If you do absolutely nothing, then the mess that you leave for somebody else is not only not your wishes, but it doesn't usually get handled the way that you think it might, and who you hope might have your things may not. So it's really best to cross a T and dot an I on things before you pass my recommendation. But I wanted to let everybody know that I'd be back, and I'd be able to, or I'm gonna be putting some recipes together. I'm gonna go straight back to my grandmother's cookbook and pull some things from there. I don't know if I'm gonna do a video every week. I may do 3 videos a week. I'm not really sure. I've got some emotional work to do, and working a job, having an antique booth, having a marriage, having family, and all of those things take time. So I'm gonna do my best. If I feel like I want to share something with you guys, I'm gonna post a video. And I do I do paint therapy. What's what I call it, really. So when things get really, really down and too much for me, that's where I have my solace and where I prefer to be by myself and do creative work. And I'll be putting some of the work that the paintings and stuff that I do, I'll be putting that on my other channel. And I hope you'll go and subscribe and check out what I'm doing over there. I'll also be doing a home tour. I'm not a decorator by any means, but I am going to share our little abode, and maybe room by room, maybe a whole home tour. I'm not sure. We've got still some unpacking to do. There's rooms with just boxes in it, and when I get to that point, I'll share with everybody. So anyway, I wanted to check in. I hope everybody's doing well, and if you've had an experience with the pandemic and you want to share your story, and I would love to hear it, and I really hope that your family's all safe and sound, and we can all get through just another year of making things happen. The world is changing rapidly, and we're all going to do our best to continue to smile and press forward. And anyway, I will see you soon, and take care, and everybody have a blessed day. And don't forget, find somebody to bless.